Morning, Kris.
Good morning.
You get a few days off here. The balance between rest and just fine tuning, or do you really, until you know who your opponent is, do you just relax?
No, I don't think we have any time to relax. I think we're watching, obviously, very closely last night to see what was happening. And right now we're kind of preparing for two teams. We're not sure what's going to happen. And obviously, with the way the series is, we're leaning towards Dallas a little bit, but we're certainly getting prepared for Winnipeg also.
Can you take me through your decision process when it comes to, in game when you switch lines, or the next game you'll switch lines? You brought in guys, in Pickard and then in Stetcher and Kapanen, and every decision you made seems to work. Obviously, you trust your players, but what goes into that? How much of the past, or how much is it as a gut feel as a coach?
I think a lot of it has to do with, I don't know, there's many factors we think about. One is what happened in the regular season, who played well together, who has success. That obviously has a lot to do with it. Then we have to look at how the guys are playing at the moment. The previous game, was that line good? Do we need a shake-up? Do we need more speed to our lineup? And then, a lot of information I take is from what the players have been saying, like who they like playing with, who has success together, and what they feel that they need. And then obviously a lot of conversations within the coaches' room. What do they see? What do you think we need? Do we need more physicality? Do we need more defensive play? Do we need a shutdown line? I don't know. And then all those things that we kind of weigh and debate, and then finally you make that decision. And ultimately, when you make the decision, hopefully, obviously it works, but you've got the players that can come in and do that role. So it's not that we're asking guys to come in and do something that they haven't done, but when we've got a lot of good hockey players, we've got guys who aren't playing right now that we have a lot of faith in, but we've only pretty much got 11 or 12 forward spots every night, and usually it's 12. So there's usually a couple guys out. So I don't know. I think there's just a lot of things that we consider making those decisions.
Players coming in and out, Kapanen. How difficult is it as a coach to watch players, I guess who are not necessarily black aces, but veterans just skating every day, but not playing, and getting a read from them? Do you watch the practices to see, okay, they've lost their enthusiasm here. I've sat for 3 weeks and I haven't played a game, and they're, they're all human, and they're probably thinking, am I ever going to play here? And I just keep working hard in the practices.
It's a difficult situation for those guys where we go long stretches of time. It's not like in the regular season when we are, a player might miss a string of games, might be 3 in a row, and then we usually get them back in. Different with the playoffs, where playoffs, things are going well and there's no need to change things. We don't change things because that next game is so important to win. I think with right now, to judge, are they engaged, are they involved, it's a little bit different right now in the playoffs, just because we don't really practice. If we're practicing, it's short, it's not very long. During the series, it's pretty much only pregame skates. So it's not that you want to see if they're ready to go, because it's kind of a formality when they're out there. But I think we try and keep those guys engaged, know kind of where they stand. And if we do have injuries, or if somebody's not playing well, or what I'm thinking about in the future, that this is where we're going to need you, and now you need to be ready. So it's not that they're forgotten, but obviously it's a difficult situation for them, and it's the worst part of my job as a coach is telling players that they're not playing.
And what did you see in Arvidsson that you decided to make the switch and take him out and play Kapanen instead?
Nothing that I took him out for. It was more that what we had coming into the lineup, a little more physicality, a guy that's raring to go, chomping at the bit, knew that we'd give us that boost. And, Arvidsson through the playoffs, especially late in the LA series and early in the Vegas series contributed with 4 key goals, whether they're assists or goals that he scored one of them. Offensively, he was helping a lot in that pretty much fourth line role with Podkolzin and Janmark. They were a great line, and it wasn't that anything that Arvidsson wasn't doing. It was just more of we thought somebody else could bring in something that we didn't have.
Hey, Kris. What are you seeing in the demeanor of Leon and Connor this time around, this run, as opposed to maybe last year? They seem to be more businesslike and workmanlike with us. I just wonder if they're like that with you guys in the room as well.
I see their demeanor being almost the same. They want to win. They want to do whatever it takes to get the job done. It just might be the more just doing it over again, a little bit of Groundhog Day of getting the same questions, the same routines, the same morning skates that I provide. Everything's just more on recycled. But I don't think their attitudes changed at all. I think they want to win, and it's business as usual. So I think it's just that, here we're doing it again, and nothing new.
And obviously, Connor slammed into the end board hard the other night. Just wondering how he's doing, if everything's okay, and how important is this rest maybe for your group to get a few days here, because you may have been starting this thing tomorrow.
Yeah, that was quite a play by Hyman also. Hyman and McDavid on that back check to break up that play. And then, yes, he crashed on the boards. He's fine. And as for the time off for everybody, it can be good. Obviously, during the playoffs, it's a grind. It's physical hockey. It's 100% effort every time you're on the ice, and it can wear guys down. But we also have to be cognizant of being ready to start up again because, I feel that we're always better off after just keeping things rolling, not having long breaks. I don't think we've got off to a good start at the start of the season, after the Four Nations, after the Christmas break. So we don't want this to stretch out too long, but I don't know. I think this time of the year, probably health and energy levels is the most important thing.
You got a bunch of guys that are all of a sudden producing and playing much better than they did during the regular season. Like, I'm thinking guys like Janmark's already got as many goals as he had, and Zach Hyman leads the league in hits, which I don't think anyone saw coming. Evan Bouchard's game is, very consistent and strong. What do you as a coach, did you know this was coming? Did you wonder if it was coming? Why do you think all these guys are so much better today maybe than they were even 3 months ago?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with just the level of competition and more of what the games mean. You need a certain amount of intensity, fire to play this game. And during the regular season, sometimes it can be a grind. It's tough to get up for a game January 15th as it is for a Stanley Cup playoff game where you can eliminate a team or whatever it is. So I think a lot of it maybe had to do with what was on our minds this year. All right, let's just get through the regular season. Let's hit the playoffs because that's what really matters. But I don't know. I think that might be a little bit, but not that they didn't care about the regular season, but just that, it's just a different fire. It's a different level of intensity that you need for the regular season opposed to the playoffs.
So can you say there's a conscious effort among players who, they made that run last year and it was so long and it took so much out of everybody. Is it a conscious effort when the regular season starts to kind of leave something in the tank for now, or is it an unconscious thing where they just know that, you got to have something left at the end here?
I don't know. I think it's, I know for me, like getting behind the bench, started the regular season or an exhibition, I was like, wow, this isn't Game 7 Stanley Cup Final. And that's me behind the bench wearing a suit compared to the players who are putting on equipment and hitting the ice and are involved in the play. Every night, they want to have a good night. They want to play at their best and score a couple goals and have some hits. That is their intentions every night. But sometimes it just doesn't happen. And, whether that's, they know it's just a regular season game, but also the atmosphere in the buildings, and their opponent. The opponent doesn't have the same fire as the opponent does in the playoffs. So I think a lot of those tendencies just have the effect on the level of play.
Kris, Evan Bousard in that series against Vegas had exceptional numbers across the board. We've seen now 3 years in a row, 2 years with you, that he really elevates his game in the playoffs. He's more physical, everything. But his defensive play, some people said it was, a lot of it due to Matthias Ekholm. Well, nobody can say that this year. What did you see really since Bousard, especially in your last 9 games when you're 8-1, from him all over the ice and maybe specifically in the defensive zone that's impressed you?
Yeah, he's a smart hockey player. I think unfairly he gets criticized for some mistakes he makes. Everybody makes mistakes. But boy, does he make a lot of good plays. And, he makes a lot of great breakout passes that lead to goals rather than going off the glass and out. Well, when you're making that many good plays, you're bound to turn over the puck. And something bad's going to happen once in a while. And the good definitely outweighs the bad. And there are some bad, absolutely, but he makes so many good plays. And as for the defensive play, I think, with our team, the intensity and the focus and what is riding on every shift, I think he's dialed in right now. He knows the importance of playoff hockey, and he's bringing his best. And we've been asking a lot out of him and through the playoffs. And in fact, we've been asking him to be one of our top 4 penalty killers. And he's stepped up and done a really good job of that also. So I think it's just playoffs bring out the best guys, and some fade, some wilt. We've got a lot of guys that they don't fade. They bring their best.
Ekholm, is he now day-to-day as opposed to week-to-week?
Yeah, he is day-to-day, and I'm not anticipating him being ready for game 1 or 2, but we're optimistic that maybe sometime in this 3rd round he will join us.
And is his coming back and not having played for, it's probably going to be a month, is it similar in a way to Kane, who's jumping back on the train here? I mean, Ekholm, the playoffs will have been going on for a month and into the 3rd round, and he won't have played a game. So how difficult is that, and is it different for a defenseman, say, than a forward?
Absolutely. It'll be, to expect Ekholm, when he does join us, that he's going to be the Ekholm that we saw last year in the playoffs. I don't think that's going to be the case, whether that takes him 1, 2, 4, 5 games, whatever it is. But I think he'll be able to help us in some aspect immediately, and then, that'll be up to him. I'm not sure how he's feeling, and obviously he's not going to be joining us until he's cleared by the doctors and able to play, is in good condition. Fortunately, we've got a group of defensemen right now that are playing really well, and we're not in dire need to insert him when he's not ready. But I think when he does play, he'll be beneficial for us. And I think the biggest part of it is, the 5-on-5 play, yes, but also the penalty kill. He's been a mainstay. He's been our best penalty killer for, from what I've seen, for 2 years. So having him being available for that will be important for us.
And just on Calvin Pickard, how's he doing, and do you expect him to kind of be able to dress when the series starts?
Probably not when the series starts, but I would think probably sometime in the same timeline as Ekholm, sometime during the series, whether that's, I don't know, certainly not game 1, but sometime in the middle.
Kris, Corey Perry turns 40 today, so he's, I guess, about 6 years difference in age between you and him. Do you ever marvel at just how effective he is and how good he is, hash marks in, how he's kind of reinvented himself to extend his career?
Well, Corey's been able to have the career that he has And he joked, or we talked about his speed and skating, and he said, well, he never had it, so that hasn't changed very much from even when he was 22 years old to opposed to when he was 39. And he's been able to have the careers because, one, he's gritty, he's got fire, but I think most importantly, he is just an extremely smart hockey player. A step ahead, can read the play, great gamesmanship to get the other team off their game a little bit. But the way he finds ways to make plays in the offensive zone, whether as a disher, but usually better known being around the net, whether he's getting on top of the goalie, tipping pucks, those kind of plays. You know, that's smart. It's obviously a skill to be able to deflect pucks and get open, but probably more importantly, using his smarts is finding ways to get to the net, not getting boxed out, because that's a very important skill.